This is Professor James Beverley, who we've all met before several times. And this is one of my dearest friends in the world, Christian Szurko, who is a theologian by training, but has been working counselling cult members for about 40 years or something. Like that, yeah. And we're going to have a little section here about religion. It'll be little because there's, it's like, is Scientology a religion? No. Thank you very much.
Next. Well, I'm inclined to say they're not a religion because the religion angle, as Hubbard puts it, is play acting. There's no sincerity there. It's, as you said, all about the money. But I do object to them using the word church.
Yeah, me too.
Ecclesia was a term for the city-state to bring its people together to have democratic decision-making about their fate. There's no democracy in Scientology. It's also the term for the assembly of people, particularly who are Christians. It's not used to describe non-Christian religion until Hubbard comes along.
The Church of American Science, which will convert Christians to Scientology, was, I think, the first use. When I complained to Janet Reitman that she kept saying, the church, the church, the church, and I say, look, it's a cult. Call it an organization, call it Scientology, but it is not a church. Look the word up. She wanted to argue with me that it's a religion. And I said, why is it a religion? She said, because the IRS says so. And it's like, what are we talking about now?
By the way, one thing I'll mention there, because you used the word cult, for Christians, no, even this is done all over the case. Here's one way to make religion simple. You save the word religion for a religion like Buddhism or Christianity or Islam, and here's why. They've been around a long time and they're big. Same for, Baha'i or...
Zoroastrianism.
Zoroastrianism.
Jains.
Okay, so there. Then you have the word cult for groups like the Unification Church, Scientology, etc. That makes it simple. So you can do that. That's one way. So when I first started studying this stuff in 1978, I was told to teach a course about cults. And it was just assumed it would be the small groups that everybody thinks are weird. Then I soon realized it's not that simple, because there is such weird stuff in some religions. For example, I've done a lot of work on Tibetan Buddhism, and I've had a private interview with the Dalai Lama. The esoteric stuff in Tibetan Buddhism is out of this world. So
some of the Tantra is extraordinary.
Yes, tantric stuff.
I mean, there's a scandal around Naropa and some of the people teaching, they're catching AIDS from their students.
Right.
Which is not really a religious practice. It's also true that Scientology, Hugh Urban in his analysis finally gets to it, having called the book Scientology a new religious movement. He's not really sure that it is religious. And he basically says it's something that reshaped itself to fit the definitions within countries. So when Lord Denning ruled, I think in 1968, on whether Scientology was a religion, it was very simple. It's not a religion because it has no worship. But then you go, well, technically Buddhism has no worship.
Right.
So it's a fairly loose and flexible term.
I don't believe Scientology, at the end of the day, is a religion, but it is a criminal organization, as we have heard for the last 2 days and will continue to hear. And it is a very good way of destroying people's lives and their families and their social connections and doing serious damage to our society. And I think those are the things that are our real takeaway. But please, they're not a church.
No.
Scientology Inc.
With my students, several years ago I performed with them a very simple task, like homework. I would, give them a phone number of the Church of Scientology and made them to make a phone call. And they would call there and say, is it the Church of Scientology? And I said, yes, it is. Of course it is the Church of Scientology. So when is your next service? And they would be total silence. They say, well, you could come for courses, but, well, is it a school of Scientology? No, it's a Church of Scientology. So when is your next service? And then it would go on forever. So
but after Lord Denning made his ruling, at St. Hill, they determined that they would have a Sunday service every week. And when I was there, which was from 1975 to 77, and then from 80 to 83, that service was attended every week by one person, who was the chaplain giving it.
Yeah.
You know, so no, it doesn't. It is a pretense at religion. But I will take the sociological perspective, which is it's not a matter of whether the guy who founded it was a con artist and whether it's a complete sham. It's a matter of whether the believers believe. And in that sense, they make of it a religion. But as Christian says, and I can kind of see that, it doesn't. I must say, it doesn't bother me at all because Satanism is a religion, you know, and it does. It's not a positive term. But as Christian says, it most certainly isn't a church.